Welcome, Yousuf.
Thank you.
From Songs of Petrichor, a band that I've produced 5 songs for in the last. It's been, I guess, almost a year now.
Yeah, it's almost a year.
Yeah, but we're slowly releasing them, you guys, through your Wall of Sound label,
Wall of Sound,
which is in Saudi.
In Saudi Arabia.
So tell us a little bit about the band and how it came together, because it's unusual to have like a band of Desis from the Middle East.
Yes, it's something which is actually quite rare. We are maybe the only one who are signed up by the Saudi label.
Mm-hmm.
So Wall of Sound is a label which came out at the birth of starting off music scene within Saudi Arabia. So it was led especially by Ahmed Shauli, who's a visionary person, I would say, who always had this view that he will come up with a label which will specifically support indie music. So it was more towards focus on creativity, nothing commercial, as we were talking earlier, like how you have envisioned that music should speak for itself. It's not a matter of finding commercial success. It does come with a bit of pain at times when it comes to economical gains from it or such, but the point is always to really make sure that you are bringing out something which is fresh, which is new, which is very unique in its form, gives out some kind of truth towards the reality of society within that region.
Absolutely.
Or such,
so it's
right?
coming out, born out of genuine self-expression.
That's true.
Right?
Yes. So Songs of Petrichor also is basically formed of 3 individuals who have had very different, I would say, road towards musical development. But I myself, I have been very much exposed to a music scene which was based on my living in Philippines at times during college. That's where I really explored more into music, and music over there is very very common. I mean, everyone's singing there, everyone's into music, but then music is pretty much run by, whatever you'll hear in one house is what you'll hear in the next.
Right.
So
There's a homogeneity to it.
Yes, it does, and that's why you'll find amazing show bands, as they call them, basically bands that can imitate any song, and you'll have a band playing anything from Led Zeppelin up to Rihanna or something, within the same set, and it was amazing. But when it comes to really adopting and forming something which is true to them or original, it would be very limited. Though I was lucky enough, as I was saying, that I was together with someone who was very explorative when it comes to sound, really good when it comes to technical understanding of music, and he imparted on to me a lot of certain theories, certain points, he would let me listen to a song which would be 10 minutes long just for a part which would be 3 seconds long, just to show how something, really differentiates it from and makes it an amazing song. But I also came from a background where, my parents or anyone within our family is not into music. So I had to really come to know music on my own, listen to different things. I really love classical rock music. I really found some kind of voice, I would say, of something which resonates from me very deeply is anything which is progressive, anywhere where drums lead a form of where the band is going. I love playing bass because of that, because I always felt that in a subtle way I'm changing the whole essence of the song.
Bass,
So, and then we had Shaharyar, who's the singer, who's a very from a singing perspective, he came from practice of classical singing. He was part of, chorals and such and all. And he had a very simple, beautiful way of always expressing how he feels in the most simplest words, the most simplest chords, the most simplest way of delivering it, but being very effective in doing it because he was very emotionally in touch with how he could deliver that, right? Similarly, when I would talk about our drummer, and basically who was the person who formed our band, because he's not only our drummer, Omair had been the person who came up with the concept, who had the idea of really, he came from a point of resentment how music has become so limited, so disconnected with how a person really feels, you know. So when he met with Shaharyar, he found in him someone who can express and sing in the way how he felt his own music can really be delivered. And they used to work on certain songs. They started writing stuff, and then when they met me, and we had a bit of a jam, and everything just clicked.
And this was all in Jeddah?
This was all in Jeddah.
Yeah.
So it all happened in, I would say there's a small recreation area where Shaharyar lives, so next to the pool. Yeah. We just like sat down, we were just working on something they had already started on, which was You Sang to Me, the first song which was released by your production, under your production, you know?
Yeah.
So it just happened. I mean, there are parts in that song which definitely we came up with on that very spot. The first time we jammed that song. I was playing the bass line as it is actually in the song. But when I went back home, actually, I came up with a different bass line, and I didn't even remember what I played that time. Yeah. But later on, when we were trying to work on the song, maybe 6-7 months later on, Omair and Shaharyar were like, "Do you remember how you did it that time?" I'm like, maybe a little bit. Then they had some recording, then I had to go back and do that.
Often it happens that in the moment of inception of any idea, you can't better that.
It just naturally I thought I came up with something cool, but with the flow of the song that worked better. But then if you remember, there's this little part of guitar which comes in after the solo part. Yeah. So that's the actual bass line which I first came up with, which I turned it then into a guitar part. So so music flowed for us that way. We would jam when Corona came upon us. We were all locked up, but then we found time, especially me and Umair, to get together. His drum set was at my place. We would just jam maybe 2-3 hours non-stop. He would complain and blame me for breaking his hand somehow because he started getting an injury from just continuously playing, because I'll come up with a riff, he'll do something, he'll come up with something, then I would kind of work around it, and even just the three of us, we can jam at any time. Then I remember specifically where I really felt we have something which is quite unique in a sense, is because after maybe there was a time of like 3 to 4 months after and during COVID that we didn't see each other at all. And then we got back together and we just jammed and we recorded that jam also. And it's still something which I love listening to because if you listen to it, it just sounds like it's something which has been written. Everything so specifically, when someone came in, what changes were made.
Or it's like you're channeling something that exists.
And it just beautifully happened that we went on and we jammed that time for like 25-30 minutes as though it's like one song. And, we just had it in us that we understood each other. Yeah. So the point of Umair really was always trying to connect and deliver something which was more real, genuine in terms of music. He discovered at some point that he can actually write really well when it comes to lyrics, and it's very unique. It's very powerful, very deep, to the point that sometimes at times people have said that our lyrics can be a bit too deep, that it's not like a lyric of a song but rather directly poetry. Right. But I think that was our aim.
It's not, the thing is, such music is not for everyone.
Yes.
And it's okay.
And we were okay with it, like we set a very general aim that I remember there was a time I used to listen to Mr. Big's Best of album, which is Big Bigger Biggest, where it's an album in which everyone likes at least one song. Like a song from their favorite, and regardless of what genre they come from or they like, Take Cover was the first song I heard from it. But then if I hear to all the other songs, their Green Tinted 60s Mind or Wild World or all of that, there would be someone who doesn't know anything about music but they would love it. So our concept really was we knew we had a limited time, so we only focused on making one album in which we wouldn't care much about what genre we are trying to which make our or put our music in category of, but rather work on just being true to each song. We like this song, what's the best way to work on it? There are songs there which had been completed by Shaharyar before they were brought on. There were songs which were completed by Umair before he brought it on to us, and then we would just find ways to work it out and think of like, you know, not to say complicated. I always love complicating music a bit more. Because I just enjoy, you know, the changes.
The progressive element.
Yes, the progressive element. The like, I didn't expect that, or like express another emotion to it, which enhances the overall experience and takes it more than just what it may have been if someone else would have written it. You know, so we had this concept, one album, each song partially being different from one another, and just telling a whole story. The original band's name which Omair came up with was Petrichor. The problem is apparently there's another band which is already Petrichor. So we came up then with the concept that we have one album, one band. For this purpose, let's just call it Songs of Petrichor, and that's how it, you know, really just came to be.
That sounds like a extensive and really fun journey. So how did you come up with to, you know, the deal with Wall of Sound? How did you hear about them? How did they hear about you?
The person they had first reached out to within the band was actually Shaharyar, because Shaharyar had been a bit more active in terms of performing in Jeddah in different events, or the way how music really broke out in Saudi Arabia is that there were some cafes and restaurants which really could acquire the license for people to perform. So we were doing, me and Shaharyar, before we had played together a few times in some of these shows, in some of the cafes, for example. We were mostly doing covers, but we would also play some of the original songs which he had. And I think from that, Mr. Ahmed especially liked the, you know, the singing style of Shaharyar, because he is also a big fan of Beatles and such and all. So he actually called on Shaharyar. Shaharyar came up to us also that, hey, he's getting this opportunity, but rather than him doing this for his, you know, solo project, why don't we do it for the band? So we did go then with the concept. We brought up to him some of our stuff, and he loved our first song, which was released, Nomad. I still believe it's
I think that's the best song.
Yes,
I would follow them.
I agree with it. So like, I mean, when he heard it, how he felt about it, he directly wanted to make sure that that's the first song which we released. We were, to be honest, at that time not a big fan of the song. I mean, we felt that song painted a bit of a different picture of being more on the metalcore kind of
sound. It's got very strong Tool influence.
Yes, it does. I mean, when I listen to it now, I would really say it is, as much as, you know, we like to say You Sang to Me is our favorite song, but Nomad, in terms of especially from its recording to release to everything, and mashallah, I would say, you know, Wall of Sound has a great team. Like at that time we had the sound technician was Dia, who did this recording specifically for Nomad. He's now actually part of the Ministry of Music.
It's really well recorded and produced.
Commission of Music, sorry. So he really understood also what we wanted from the song, because every part of, like, even for me, like, I played a lot of the heavy guitar parts and all the parts which fill in, you know. So I was very specific of what I wanted the sound to be, what kind of effect will be, what kind of time, you know, like even the phasers will come in and out and everything, and we got it as we wanted it to be.
So how was the recording process, like, in terms of, for example, guitars? Did you record with amps, or did you do DIs and then process them later?
Most of it was through DI, but we were, because Okay, I'm forgetting now the device which they have, the guitar thing, which is one of the best DI things.
Like a fractal or a Kemper or something.
Kemper.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Kemper has some really good sound.
Yeah, I have the Kemper's one. Yeah.
So but in that song, we had the sound set out before
you recorded. Yeah, you knew exactly what you wanted.
Exactly what we wanted it to be. So we were able to get it that way. And a challenge for me oftentimes had been that when, like in the song like Nomad, because I'm playing a lot of the guitar parts. So even as we perform, I play the guitar, but I also play the bass.
Right.
So there have been some songs in which when I had to record, I've never been able to play the two together, obviously.
Yes.
So I always had it in mind, like, okay, how the guitar might go or how the bass might go.
Yeah.
But to put it together, it's especially Nomad.
Yeah.
The second verse, I'm so proud of it. Everything which happens there, how the bass, what the bass does, how the transitions are, how the progression is, everything came up perfectly, which was often in my head but never done in
actual feeling. Yeah.
You know. So I mean that's how before. So Wall of Sound had signed us for that one album. They actually were doing longer deals with most of the other artists, but they understood because Omair is leaving, and we were kind of very strict about how we wanted our sound to be. So we were able to really have a very mutually agreeable I would say the contract which we had between us and Wall of Sound has really worked out for the best, and we were among the first. We were maybe the third release from them, and I mean since then, Wall of Sound has done quite well in terms of acquiring and kind of filtering out artists and all of this, but they have just stayed relevant in terms of they've just made sure that they are the hub where something creative finds home.
Yeah, and that's what we are also aspiring to do. So I can definitely relate to that. Let's jump to the songs that we worked on together.
Yes.
The first one we've talked about a little bit. You sang to me. That's already out. So what was the kind of concept behind the song?
Well, that is one of the songs which I say that which was very well already composed and developed from Umair.
Right.
And also worked out together with Shaharyar. Where is the origin story of the song is, I mean, even if I were to ask Omair, maybe he would have the best idea of. Yeah. But it's more of something like, as the words go, it's more about when I think there was a period of time in which he had really wanted something, but it's the timing of things, they don't always work out, and dealing with that was really brought him. I mean, I guess memories of it is what really inspired him at the point when he had written the song.
It has some nostalgic elements to it.
Yeah, I think the nostalgic element is the basic element which we always looked for in composing all of our songs.
Yeah, I mean it comes from the Petrichor concept as well.
The concept of Petrichor was that, and there are some songs in which there's a very clear picture of what's being painted, where the origin of the song has been what feelings it has been generated from. But so I would say that You Sang to Me was something which I'm really amazed by. I mean, when I look at the words, when I still look at the progression of the chords and all of that, because I came in when some of these were already done.
Right.
So it amazed me how I can only imagine where it came from, and as much as maybe even if we were to ask, let's say Umair and Shaharyar, when they worked it out, what happened, but then what we have seen is throughout our band's process of developing songs that a lot of things just instantly just come up with being one with the emotion of the song itself.
Yeah, I mean the chemistry between the unit is ultimately what makes the magic.
I think there was always a wish also from Omair that in the band in general, that in that song that there'll be some element of Oriental presence. So there was the first concept was actually to have these Turkish chanting or something like that being present in the song. Then it came to be that like one of the singer who actually took part in it, Maram from Bahrain, she happened to be there, and she had similar vibe in terms of how she sings and how she ad-libs, because honestly all of it is during the recording itself. She just really came up with
spur of the moment.
So that element really helped maybe expand the feeling of the song.
Definitely, and it gives it a more stronger identity, I feel.
I believe so, yes.
So that's been and how has it been since you released it? Have you had feedback from people?
Yes. I mean, for a lot of my friends have often said that that's the best release that they, in terms of everything from production to how the song overall came together, how it feels, because our songs has sometimes been labeled as being a bit too old, too Beatles-like, something too progressive. Jo bhi ka jaye from time to time. So I think You Sang to Me is a song which kind of hits all the notes.
It bridges a lot of different things.
It bridges a lot of different things. I think how we worked it out together had a lot to do with the overall result. If you remember, the whole intro part is somewhat your conception somehow.
I mean, I just went with how I was feeling the song, to be honest.
I mean, we had the guitar part which Shaharyar starts with, but having that cosmic kind of intro into the song really just
it sets the vibe, the mahal, as we say.
Yes, it really sets out everything quite well all the way up to the end. It's a song that when I listen to it, because what I personally am always looking for in a song, that when I listen to it, everything hits and does how internally I feel it should, and it just like impacts you with every point of it. Like I listen to every bass kick, the pattern of the bass kick, how changes had done within the guitars or the volumes of things, and it just really takes you in a full journey. I think maybe people who aren't into music production or composition may not realize how intentional every little thing is, especially with this genre of music. It is.
But
how was your experience with it?
I found it. I mean, it was a very different song from the rest. So it was a change of pace. It was nice also to work with the. I've always had a soft spot for good female vocalists. So it was definitely a fun experience. But I had even more fun working on Drift Away. For some reason, I think it just fits into the kind of music that I've been listening to more recently. I even shared a song with you guys, which I kind of took as my reference point for it.
Yes, you had
I think it was a band called Clone. Or Clone, I don't know how they say it.
I can't remember also. I do remember that you shared something. And was it the first song we worked on?
I've started with Drift Away.
Yes.
And I think that one which you recently released as well, right? That one has like it has a power to it, which I like.
Is it more from the lyrical perspective in your view?
I mean, Drift. I think I can definitely relate to the lyrical aspect because as I'm sure you guys, because you've obviously written this song, but especially when you are as an artist or as a human being, true to your actual self and true to your journey, then you have to evolve, right? You can't keep staying in the same place.
That's true.
And often when you do evolve and make that decision for yourself, the people that you're used to be close with are no longer close to you, and they can't understand you, and they judge you, or whatever. They just, and in the moment of it might be hurtful and you don't understand it at the time what's happening, but with reflection you can understand that that's what had to happen, you know.
Yeah. No,
so those are the elements and emotions which I've connected to.
It's very I mean, the song has taken different I would really say that throughout from the time when it first was thought of to the release and the finalization of the lyrics and all of that, it went through at least 3 or 4 different stages of feelings.
Yeah.
Because so the song's development had, you know, partially it's been some of our experience, partially it had been things that we see, but generally as much as possible, you know, like I have always wished that our songs don't specifically say one message, because like as I hear your reflection on it, it's a bit different from maybe what it was really meant to be, but that's how we want it to be. That it can really
it's open for other people to connect to.
So they can take parts of it, and it's laid out in such a manner that you can fill in the blanks in between, which makes it your own. You know. So Drift Away is was a song, again, starting from COVID time. I, you know, kind of woke up and I had a very I was very sure of how I wanted the guitar parts to be, how I wanted especially the singing, the melodies to be, and the extension of, you know, like the screamy parts and whatsoever and everything. But I didn't have any words to it. Okay. When I brought it up, especially to the band, Shaharyar was amazing in terms of really capturing, and he still says that it's the hardest but the most fun song for him to sing, because it's like he's just in an element, and I don't let him, you know, he doesn't play guitar on it or anything, especially when we perform, because it's just
focused on the singing.
He just gets lost in the words and the feeling of it and all of that, and it's really beautiful how you know it all flows. Omair did really well especially of really taking in concepts and thoughts behind the song and putting it into words, of being able to express it in the best way possible. As you said, you know, like there are times that we face hardship. There are also times that, for example, it could simply mean that when you drift away, you're not drifting away alone, but rather finding your way away from how the world may expect things to be. Okay, but you don't have to do that alone. But it's a necessary evil in terms of making sure that you're always being true to yourself. You know, so it really surprised me when you first told me that it's your favorite song among the songs which you worked on, because when I introduce the song, oftentimes I say musically it's our simplest song. It is, you know, but in terms of actual feelings and emotions, yes, it's maybe the deepest one.
I mean, and also musically, I think Umair adds a lot to it. Even though the chord structure is fairly straightforward, but his way of playing the drums and accenting things,
he's following the lyrics
fills, you know, it makes it sound a bit more complex, a bit more mature.
It is a lot more complex and mature, especially as you said, you know, because he has this. He's a person. That's why I say that, you know, he pretty much plays almost like he's playing tabla on drums, because he's reacting to melodies, to words.
And it's interesting. I didn't know that he wrote the lyrics, so that explains how he can interpret it so well.
I mean, other than there were some songs, as I mentioned, where Shaharyar already had the words. That was partially also improved by Umair. But in Drift Away, for example, and a lot of the other songs, our main lyricist had been Umair. Right. In Drift Away, there were some words and ideas which I came up with, but they were not good. So he really found ways to tell the story, and he always tells it as in a way that when you listen to it, you're kind of living through it, through the song. So and that's how I think it also shows in his playing when it comes to drums. Because he plays from the perspective of the whole song. In a lot of the other songs which we released earlier, also like Drizzle, and especially in Drizzle, for example, it has so many cool riffs, which are all specifically from Umair.
Nice.
He came up with it. And yeah, I mean, so it's really a joint effort in terms of like everyone brought in something, and the best thing is how we allowed each other to improve on it or make it their own.
Yes, the best part of what I'm hearing about this process is like there seems to be very little ego involved. Like everyone is open to their ideas being twisted around and suited to how the other people interpret them, right?
I think at times maybe like, for example, if someone came up to me in Drift Away and would have said, no, can we change this to that or that to this, or even for example in one of the things which I've been told the most is in Triumph to place lyrics to it. I've been the most resistant to when it comes to changes, but especially Shaharyar, Umair. I love this thing about them, that they're always open to listen out, and if they like it, they accept it. You know, so for example, especially when Shaharyar, came up specifically with some songs which were complete from his end, and I would say, no, we're gonna change the chords in this and the singing style in this and that, and he would really be, like, open, let's try it. If it sounds good, why not?
I mean, it's because personally speaking, having been part of band and stuff, like especially on a first album, it can be difficult to to change if someone's coming in with a concept or idea or composition, then often they hold on to it and like, no, you're gonna play around this, and then you evolve, and then with further albums you change your way of working and stuff. But the fact that you guys just did this one project and approached it that way is quite unique.
We have a lot of like by the time when Omair was supposed to leave, we were coming up with new ideas.
And that was going to be my next question.
Okay, you can ask a question first. So
I mean, we'll get to that, but first let's get through the rest of the songs. Actually, I was just thinking of improvising this format a bit. Like, if you feel like showing us the chords of Drift Away, we can do that.
The first thing which I came up with on a morning of getting, simply I just started playing this part, which is So then I just like the idea of
C-sharp minor?
Yeah, C-sharp minor 7 with the added E, and then basically it sticks to the C-sharp minor 7, but the bass notes change from time to time, so then after that it goes to an A. And somewhere like I thought, okay, it needs some change in the end, so that's where I went with the F-sharp minor.
And that's a very important change, like especially lyrically.
So that it doesn't stay with the monotony, And then there's the chorus part, which also goes as C-sharp minor. And then almost by mistake, I came up with a chord where I just added the B. So, keeping the same pattern, but then it's rather than just playing a B or something, it's just like, this. Oftentimes I make a mistake.
See, now it makes more sense why I like it so much, because a lot of my composition I do the same approach of keeping certain notes the same, but just changing the roots.
I think it just flows better. It really flows better. There's that sense of continuity, really. So in the chorus it goes like, then the change comes. A lot of open chords, so it always does a 5s rather than so keeping these open strings just really resonates on that. The part which I like most is, as much as I love coming up with riffs, that's something which I can do with my eyes closed somehow, but that heavy part which I came up with in here was something I still really love, and I don't know how I really came up with, but I came up with it at the same time. When I was writing it. That one.
And the chord change in it.
It doesn't change much.
Yeah.
You know, but that part just I just have the.
It's a perfect bridge between the parts, right?
But I had to have something which just still feels like, hey, it's still us and all of that. But it's just beautiful.
Yeah.
You know, but I had struggled with because when I recorded the bass on this, another thing is because the person who helped us in Wall of Sound throughout our recording, Ayman, we had to really let him be known because he is so patient, especially because I often had this issue, as I said it, you know, like I've been playing the song, I've only played guitar. When I'm recording now, I have to play bass.
Yeah.
I have an idea, but I don't really have it fully through. So really finding the right bass of what to do in this was a bit of a hard thing to do. And because I only had one guitar, in this song, actually, one of the techniques which I used a lot in the bass is to play a lot of two strings.
Interesting.
You know?
Yeah.
So I do that also in Nomad. There are parts like people, like I've had some bassists come up to me because they wanted to cover the bass part and they couldn't figure out some parts. It's also because, you know, I do a whole lot of two string.
Yeah, it works really well in Nomad as well.
Yeah.
And
so,
it leaves space, you know, it doesn't fill out.
Yeah, but it was like I was trying to be a bit more orchestraic because, you know, the guitar is just focusing on the lower parts, so you can.
Yeah.
So it goes on the E rather than the B. So and stuff like that, you know. So that's how the song pretty much. Most of the chords are just that way. Even the bridge part is just very simple.
Yeah.
Without having that, you know, syncopated parts.
Yeah.
Then that part just makes it really beautiful once it goes. Yeah.
Why don't you show us something from the other songs we've talked about, Nomad or
Nomad is a whole lot of, you know, like drop D stuff where we go to it, and and a lot of the rhythm and most of the guitar parts actually are being done by Shaharyar. So yeah, I mean in most of the songs. So what I do is, for example, like in Waterfall, if you have heard Waterfall, so the song itself was already there, but then I added the intro part, which is supposed to be I placed a capo on the first because the song's on the G sharp, but then you know this part. Just having the capo here just sounds really and it was funny because I kind of came up with that part also while playing on the guitar Lili. The small one. So you know, it was tuned not by mistake, but maybe I was tuning it down. Jobio. It was on the G sharp. So when I came up with it, it came out and it sounded really cool. So wait, was pitch up karna pada to. Yes, so that one. So you know, like we came up with that. Other than that. Yes, most of my parts are, as I said, in all the songs, all the bass is mine. When it comes to guitar, I do sparingly, like some things, you know, like when it comes to filling in with something in terms of ad-libs, drizzle also, just little bits here and there.
Let's talk about something nice, because that's a song I mean, it's very different.
It's a very different song.
It's an epic. Yeah. You know, it's a 10-minute plus, so I don't know how it's.
The funny thing is, you know, the first song we ever worked on was You Sang to Me. The next time we jammed something nice. And when we were jamming on something nice, I had a guitar with me, and they were playing. You know, they came up. They already. They had all of that down. And Umair also had some ideas about some solo parts, so that. He had some whole extensive like 4-bar thing on it, but I couldn't quite pick it up, so we kind of like worked around getting that. But so the chorus and the main parts and the lyrics were there. When it comes to adding this was something which I came up with on the spot also, while we were just jamming at that time, to really add something to it. But it was very much like, I don't know why, but a few days before that, maybe I was listening to Josh Homme of Queen of Stone Age.
Oh yeah, that's got that vibe.
Yes, the thing is, I've never heard a lot of their songs. Maybe I know 2-3 songs, but I like how he plays guitar. Because I was listening to them Crooked Vultures, album, to his guitar work, how he also especially plays things and sings along and all of that. It's really cool. And the tone of it. That's how I came up with those, those parts around it, and even the उसके बाद क्या होता है यहाँ पे होता है वैसे on the chorus parts and all of that. I was a bit influenced from it. There are parts there, then Umair said he had some wild crazy idea about the drums, which goes in before the solo. So I came up with the whole thing, which sounds a bit like, almost like Kurt Cobain, which just just keeps going higher and higher and higher and all. So it was all about just going with the flow of that. The slow part again was something which we came up with, where I just felt that it needed a bit of So and also I wanted to really highlight the the melody had to kind of shine out through somewhere, and a bit of a solo which is very melodic. I still find it one of the most beautiful parts which we came up with. So it was just like parts, and I always like the idea that when we have songs, when you listen to a song and each verse, there's a different element to it. Definitely. So the first verse and chorus does the rhythm's a bit different. The bass changes in the second one, the third one it goes to something else and something else. The last part of Something Nice is, again, we came up with it on the spot. Like at that time when we were jamming, we just like kept on playing something. Then like when then after that, when I went to the
galloping part.
So that whole part just came out naturally. And then after then to go higher on it and all of that, it just like kind of just went with the flow of how it may sound.
And that part's a little like old school 80s.
It is. It's almost like an Iron Maiden kind of thing, and then trash thing. But we wanted that. We didn't mind some copying a kind of certain parts that sound like something else, because it's what we really grew up with. It's what we really got influence with.
Right.
So,
but that's also why I think when I had it, and you guys gave me the freedom to add elements, especially like keyboard elements and stuff. So I thought, just to make it a little more modern, we can add some electric pianos and some Prophet synths and stuff.
That's amazing. Like when we hear it, especially that it plays in your head, those things in the background as they're coming in. It gives it a bit of a disco feel to it also, almost, which is quite beautiful. So I love those.
The arpeggiators.
No, I really, because we were struggling to make that song sound more current.
Also I feel like there was a little bit of a aspect of it's moving from part to part. It needs some glue to tie it together. So I felt like using some of those elements.
I did. It worked beautifully, because
it's not out yet, but I'm looking forward to it.
There's a chance it might be the last song which might get released. So what we have in mind right now is अभी रमजान तो खत्म हो गया, तो maybe in the next few weeks we might be releasing Legends.
Right.
One of the main reasons we want to release it is because we're always scared that someone else might pass away. And we'll have to change the whole
another name to the lyrics.
We'll have to add another name to it, another person in the video, because we have a music videos कि ये बनाई थी और ये सब. So that will come out next. and it's another song which I mean, Umair and Shaharyar feel that that's the best bass work which has been done. It has this slidey bass part and all of these things which are very cool. So I enjoyed that part for it specifically. But the song is really, the way how it builds up is really nice. The artist part, when it comes in the end, it really kind of builds up to a point that you really get a bit of chills when you.
Yeah, I mean, anyone who's obviously everyone would have heard of one or many of those names
of the artists and names.
So I think people will understand.
उसमें यही है कि लेकिन sometimes like we just wish. Where I see the element is that our songs are better catered towards musicians is because our songs are always about a build-up.
Right.
So and the way how music is right now, मतलब सिर्फ music का नहीं, मतलब a sad thing about life right now is everything is given in very short.
Yeah, so you have to go straight to the point.
Yeah.
You can't build up.
Music is only 2 minutes because it's just the ending part. Yeah. It's the same thing happening even with kids shows. And all of that. Kids are losing attention span and all of that, and human being in general is losing patience of trying to know things to its depth because they're just amused by the the outer skirts of the superficial part of it.
Which is why I think on the counter of that though, there's a nice build now of like interesting TV programs, like TV shows, right? So growing up, I never watched TV shows as such, seasons of them, right? Always about movies. But now I think the TV shows are more interesting.
They are.
Than the movies.
Movies feel too abrupt all of a sudden.
Yeah, exactly.
But also it's a season. I mean, if you look at TV shows, they also have these limited series, kuch wagera, which are like keeping it a bit short enough that you can get a whole thing from it. So yes, this is something which is nice.
Something nice.
Yes, it should. It's something nice, definitely. So, having the patience to just go through a song, an album, ya kuch wagera. It takes some interest to it. I think, in general, agar kaha jaye, you'll be able to listen to any music or anything if you have some understanding to it or some connection to it. So, to mere liye ye jaise now anything coming out of Aleph. Anything coming out of Wall of Sound, out of Saudi in general, Pakistan se kuch. There's an element which makes me want to listen to it. Because I can connect with it somehow. Okay? So usi tarah se that's why the whole kaha jaye marketing of things and all. It's not a bad thing. Ke you have to put out there why a song or why something should be worth listening to.
Right.
So so having good
it's a necessary evil of the times we live in.
It is. We need to highlight certain things
from everything else that's out there.
So वही है just something nice guy. If I put a clip out there which shows like we have 5 different parts to the song, people will be less willing to, when is this coming, ya kuch ho.
Especially amongst people who are fans of progressive music, they'll be like, oh, that's a 10-minute song in this album, like where is that?
The other song only which remains then to be discussed in some way for Triumph.
Yes.
I think it is a very good score to how life is in general. Agar aap dekha hai to like a friend of mine made a short video of like putting it at the background of showing how expat workers are when it comes to Middle East or something. I would look at it in terms of how life can be kaha jaye before the war in Palestine, the beginning part of it. Any place where struggles are. If you see everyday life in Karachi, and for anyone at any point, it's not only about hardship and all. Such mein main kahunga our everyday life for a person going to office, leaving family, doing these things and all. It's a bit of a struggle, but you're trying to put a happy face through it. You're trying to enjoy and appreciate anything you can out of those moments because it's necessary. But you always face loss and you always feel that there's, no matter how much you lose, there'll be a perseverance which will be there.
And I think that's also one of the beautiful things about, in Islam as well, like there's the concept that everything is always according to Allah's plan, and His plan is perfect. So if you believe that, and if you own that idea, then you have to go beyond, okay, whatever is happening is negative, but there's some reason behind it.
No, that's true.
Right?
I mean, that is the whole thing which we have to believe in. I find it hard to believe that people can live through their life without fully believing in something as divine as that. Because it is the only thing which can make sense
of everything that's happening. Yes.
Of life in general. Kiske saath kya ho raha hai? That balance. In the end, for us to have an understanding of our faith in Islam, especially, just means that you understand everything is equal. Everyone is going through every emotion that a person can think of. It's just in different forms. The sabr, the understanding that we need to really have that passion and the empathy towards each other, to really recognize that, to be respectful towards each other, understanding that it's a lost cause in the population. Because Western life, everything else is all about jaise kaha ja raha tha, a spurt of a moment. It's a specific
and it's all about what equates to profit and money.
What equates to profit? What equates to my happiness right now? What equates to what I want? How I want things to be, how I'm not accepting of what life has brought to me. And ye sab jo cheezein, that is, if you dwell more into it, you're just going away from the perfection of everything how it's supposed to be.
It's a negative spiral,
It is, and it's an endless spiral somehow. People will keep going around and keep finding these little fixes, but they will not find happiness. Because usme wahi hai ki you don't understand how life is. This is all necessary, the hardship, the difficulties which we go through. तो ये सब जो music भी है क्या है? You're telling a state of being at a certain I've always been a strong believer that a good song, music or art in general, you're stamping what is true emotions at that time, at that space.
Yes, and you don't know at what time and space it might also be true for someone else. Might be 50 years from now.
It would. And at the same time, it's not there to make you feel good. या कुछ होगा. मैंने जब बताया था कि there are times that, especially because of understanding of how religion and these things and all of that, how things work, you sometimes do dislike music. For me, at least. Why? Because I remember kaha jaye jaise for someone that everyone may know, for Chester. He's singing a song where he's crying his heart out for what he's struggling with, and everyone's just cheering. Having a good time. So there's an element to it where people have taken it as entertainment.
But it's much beyond that.
It is.
And as a friend, a very, very good friend, I was having this discussion with him because I was debating within myself internally about the fact that there's so much music that is degrading in terms of its content and how people react to it. They become stupider, or they become more debased, or their behavior becomes worse. So I really relate to the idea that a lot of music can be considered haram, right? But being a musician, I don't want to believe that music is inherently. And I've researched it a lot, and I haven't come to that conclusion. But the thing is, he said his teacher says there's upstairs music and there's downstairs music. There's music that can elevate you and take you closer to the divine, and there's music that'll take you away, and most music will take you away.
And I would say that, that's been a struggle I had. There have been times that I've just want to withdraw. There were times that I really came to a point to say to myself, okay, Songs of Petrichor, I just committed to it, I'm gonna do this. But I don't want to do anything to do with music after this. Part of it came to be when we were somewhat performing in cafes and all. And we were playing, and I see how the people react to it, how they're singing. They lose themselves. They lose themselves to a feeling which has nothing to do with the meaning of the music or the expression you want to bring. They're just lost within an escape.
Yeah.
And that scape is what I think is wrong.
Yes, I
that
agree.
scape is where I also feel कि मतलब all I can do is मतलब I've never really aimed कि हमारे गाने भी जो हैं या कुछ वगैरह it reaches everyone. I mean, I have always been like, okay, if someone can understand it, I want them to listen to it.
Yeah.
If they don't, I would prefer they don't. ठीक है?
Yeah.
A lot of the meanings of our songs also may not directly reflect everything that we all believe या कुछ वगैरह. But the point is the feeling. That's what we aim for.
Yeah.
What emotion does it bring? How much true it makes you feel that you understand that there's something bigger, that you have to make your heart be more open, susceptible to everything which life has to bring. ठीक है? तो इसी तरह से मैं वही कहता कि मतलब जैसा आपने कहा कि there are times you feel like okay, this is not there for it's maybe wrong वगैरह, लेकिन उसमें मतलब what I tell myself is I'm doing whatever I'm doing within it for myself.
Yes, and for my own healing, for my own expression.
Yes,
and the hope that people can also
understand
find something good from it.
Yeah, and leads them to, because you know the only purpose I think of all of this is really make a person question more, learn more.
Yes.
Find what is true.
Yeah.
Is something that you can just really encourage them, but you can't really control or teach them directly. So hopefully that does that.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
And they say, niyat is the most important thing. So if your intent is that, then hopefully,
inshallah, that's really what we want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So no, I think that's a good note to end on, and we've covered a lot of ground, more than I expected. And it's a pleasure to have you here, and pleasure working with you.
Thank you.
Hopefully we
really wish we could have all been here as a band. Umair, Shaharyar, hopefully you'll all get this opportunity as well.
Yeah.
But more than anything, we're most thankful because as we talk right now, I really understand why we had taken the step which was right in terms of working together with Aleph.
Yes.
In terms of getting the sound and the expression that we wanted.
Yeah, there's an alignment in where we're coming from.
Where we're coming from, exactly. So yes.
Yeah, so I'm glad that we did that together, and inshallah we might do more.
Inshallah.
Okay.
For more to come.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for watching, and please check out Songs of Petrichor. They're on Spotify and all your normal streaming platforms, and they have, I think, 3 more songs from the album yet to come out.
Yeah.
So we look forward to that, and tune in next time.
Thank you.